Hey everybody, my name is Matt Johnson. I lead worship at Grace Community Church in Rupert, Idaho. Lately we've been doing a lot of music that has a lot of cool synth stuff in it with arpeggiations and sequences and things, and I finally figured out how to do that on the keyboards that we've got. So I figured I'd throw together a quick video to show you how to do that using the keyboards that we have, which are the Korg TR and the Korg Triton LE. And this video is going to be on the Korg TR and some quick steps to make your own arpeggiations and then use them in your music that you're doing.
Okay, so we are looking at the Korg TR Music Workstation keyboard. I happen to be playing on an 88 key version, but it shouldn't matter what version you've got. The brain should be the same. And if one thing I've figured out with the Korg keyboards is that when you're building an arpeggio, it is based on the program that you're using first. Off to the left of your screen, you've got combinations and you've got programs. If you're familiar with Roland, these are going to be programs or patches. Roland calls them patches instead of programs. Korg calls them programs, so that's fine. Combinations are a group of programs that are put together and mixed, and they do a pretty good job of that. But what we're going to do today is we're going to look at programs. I'm sorry if that's hard to see. We're going to look at a program, and then we're going to build an arpeggio after that. So when you turn on the keyboard, it should be set to the combination bank, so you just want to go over to your programs. So then you want to select a sound that you want. Hope that's coming through okay for you. What we're going to do is I'm going to switch over. I'm going to hit the category button, which will take me to a bunch of categories I can pick from. So I'm going to go over to the synth category down here that says fast, and then I'm going to go over to my wheel, and I'm going to select, I don't know if you can see the wheel, I'm going to select the sound that I want. I'm going to find it really quick. We're doing a song by Planet Shakers called Dance Now that they've got this really cool synth arpeggio thing going on. There we go. So I picked a sound that I wanted. Okay. Once I've got the sound that I want, I'm going to say okay because I'm going to select that sound. Okay, cool. So now this is the program that I'm using. Okay. So now I have to pick my arpeggiation and decide what that's going to look like. So on the bottom here you've got 3 tabs. I would go over to the arpeggiation tab. You've got different arpeggios you can choose from. I'm going to use the wheel, and I'm going to look at different arpeggiations I can choose. But I already designed one and saved it. So whenever I recall this program, it's going to be this arpeggio that's with it. I'm going to show you how I designed that in a second. So that's the sound I want. Or that's the arpeggio I want, I should say. Okay, so now this is the part that was confusing because now what do you do? There's several things to look at here. The first thing to do is at the bottom here you've got, I'm sorry that the light is funky. You've got F1 to F8. These are options down here. So you've got F1, F2, F3, and then all the way over to F8, okay, with utility button. We're not going to bother with the utility button right now. We're going to go over here to the menu button. Boom. Okay, so I hit menu. Here's all these different options. I want the one that's arpeggio, which is F6. Okay, so I'm going to hit F6, open the arpeggio bank. Okay, so now I'm looking at the arpeggiation setup for this program. Keep on wanting to call it a patch because I've used Roland's a lot too. So again, what we have highlighted is the name of the arpeggio. The pattern is U085, which doesn't really matter. It might be something different for you. But the U is important because that means user. That means that it's not pre-programmed, and that means you can adjust it. Okay, so I've got some settings here that we'll kind of go over. But that's another thing I want to mention just really quickly is that you can go online to Korg's website and get a manual. And I did read through the manual, and it's somewhat helpful, but I just felt like this video would be a good supplement to that because like most product manuals, they expect you to read the whole manual and remember everything you read when you go from step A to step B. And it's kind of hard to keep track. So anyway, we've got some important settings here. Under gate and velocity, it's flagged as step. The resolution is 16th notes. 1 octave range, which doesn't really matter actually because my sequence or my arpeggio is really small. But And then we've got this sort button, and latch is disabled. That's important, and I'll show you why later. Also, key sync, that's important, and then the keyboard is unchecked. So anyway, this is all just kind of how I have it set up. Now, you've got F1 and F2 for setup and zone. In my zone, I only have, this is kind of funny, the zone is the keys that can play this arpeggio. Okay? So now I'll let the cat out of the bag and show you what that arpeggio sounds like. There's a red arpeggio on-off button right next to the volume. That needs to be lit. And what I've done is I've narrowed down the range of the keyboard so that it's only one note on the entire keyboard. The reason why I did that is because I don't want to play the wrong note and have the sequence play, or have the arpeggio play on the wrong note. That would be crazy. So yeah, I set the bottommost note and the topmost note to the same note. And watch what happens if I use the wheel and I have the bottom note highlighted and I'm going to scroll to the left. See how I'm adding to the range of notes that can play that sequence? I don't want to do that. I want it to be the exact same note. Okay, so when I play all these notes, okay, now listen for the sequence. I mean, you'll hear it, but anyway. Okay, so that's how I designed that that arpeggio to do, and it's only playing on that one note, D6. If I play below that note or above that note, no sequence or no arpeggio. Okay, so that's how I wanted it to be. All right, so we're good on the program in terms of like what our settings are. Now, how did I set up this arpeggio? How did I set that up? That's the big question, because often when you're doing a song and it's unique, I mean, you want it to have its own arpeggio. And if you're listening to a song like a group like Planet Shakers, they have some really cool stuff out there, but obviously it's their unique song and they have their own arpeggiation. There's a lot of preloaded arpeggios in the keyboard that are really cool, but if you want to do a specific song, you have to write a specific arpeggio. So how do you do that? Well, that has to be done not in the program bank like you would expect. It has to be done through what's called the global bank. So we're going to go to the global bank now. You know, you would think if I select a program and then I select an arpeggio that I should be able to edit that arpeggio through the program bank. Well, that's not so. You have to do that through the global bank.